Yo, what is up, 12s? Victor here, back at it on Seahawks Nation Update. And listen, I don't even know where to start today because we've got two stories that are pulling me in completely different directions emotionally right now. Like, on one hand, I'm hyped. On the other hand, I'm sitting here going, okay, but what's going to happen to these guys? So here's the deal. The Seahawks just came off a Super Bowl win. 20 of 22 starters coming back. The roster is stacked. But, and this is the part that gets me, when your team is this good, some guys who deserve a real shot, they're basically fighting for their lives on a 53-man roster. Tamani, John, and Daryl, these three dudes are on the edge right now, and we need to talk about what that actually means for this team going forward. And while all that's happening, Seattle just made a quiet little move that actually tells us a lot about what Mike Macdonald is building. Two undrafted rookie receivers just got signed, and one guy got waived to make room, Diori and Colley. If those names don't ring a bell yet, don't worry. I'm about to break it down for you, because the way I see it, these two stories are connected. This is a franchise in full championship mode. No room for passengers, everybody's got to earn it. We're going to get into all of it today, but real quick before we do, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. We are pushing hard to hit 4,000 subscribers, and every single one of you counts. Drop a like on this video too. It literally helps us reach more 12s just like you. Let's grow this thing together. All right, let's get into it. All right, 12s, let's get into it. And I want you to really think about this for a second. We just won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl champions. 20 of 22 starters coming back. The roster is loaded. And honestly, from the outside looking in, everything feels perfect right now. But here's the thing nobody's really talking about. When your team is this good, when every spot on that 53-man roster actually matters, some guys who've been grinding, who've been putting in the work, they suddenly find themselves in the most uncomfortable position possible. Not because they did anything wrong, just because the team around them got better. And today, we're talking about three of those guys. Three Seahawks who, right now, are fighting to keep their jobs on a Super Bowl roster. Let's start with the running back room, because, oh man, this one hurts a little. George Holani. If you've been following this team, you know the name. Boise State product, good power, decent speed, the kind of back that when he's healthy and rolling, you see flashes of something real. But that's always been the problem, right? Staying healthy. In college, his draft stock dropped because of injuries, and that same pattern has followed him into the NFL. And this offseason, Seattle didn't exactly make his life easier. First, they signed Emmanuel Wilson from Green Bay. Okay, that alone is a bit of a punch to the gut for Holani. But then the Seahawks went and used a first-round pick on Jadarian Price, a first-rounder at running back. So now you've got Price, you've got Wilson, and you've still got Zach Charbonnet somewhere in the picture, even if his ACL tear from the playoffs means we honestly don't know when he's coming back. Maybe week 1, maybe week 4. Nobody really knows yet. The way I see it, Charbonnet's injury might actually be the one thing keeping Holani on this roster right now. If Zach's timeline pushes into the regular season, Holani could sneak in as RB3. But the moment Zach's back healthy, that conversation gets really complicated really fast. And I like George Holani, I really do. But the Seahawks can't carry a running back who can't stay on the field. That's just the reality of a championship roster. Now, let's talk about Jalen Milroe. And this one is a different kind of conversation, because his situation isn't about survival the same way Holani's is. Nobody's cutting Jalen Milroe. That's not even on the table. But what is the question is, what exactly are the Seahawks doing with him? Look, Sam Darnold is the guy. He's QB1, and honestly, the way things are trending, it looks like he's QB1 for the long haul. Drew Lock is almost certainly holding on to that QB2 spot through 2026, especially with this team still having genuine Super Bowl expectations again this year. So where does that leave Milroe? Barely getting reps in practice? Probably not touching a real game unless Mike Macdonald gets creative with him in the run game. And we saw last year what happens when they try those gimmicky plays with Milroe. It did not go well, 12s. It did not go well. Here's my honest take, though. I don't think Seattle should give up on him. Not yet. Because the real conversation isn't about 2026, it's about 2027 and beyond. If Milroe comes into training camp and actually shows growth, real growth in his accuracy and his decision-making, then he becomes something really valuable, either as a future QB2 or as a legitimate trade chip for draft capital down the road. The Seahawks are smart enough to know that. You hold on to upside, you develop it, and then you make the call when the time is right. And then there's Olu Oluwatimi, and honestly, his situation might be the most underrated storyline of the three. Here's what's wild to me about Olu. When he actually plays, he's not bad. Like genuinely, his grades when he's on the field aren't dramatically worse than starter Jalen Sundell. So why is he basically invisible on this roster? That's the question I keep coming back to. There was talk before the draft that Seattle might actually trade him for a late-round pick. But realistically, a backup center with no positional flexibility, what's his market value really? It's a tough sell. But here's why I think keeping Olu through at least 2026 is a no-brainer. Seattle has nobody else who's a natural fit at center. Nobody. So if something happens to Sundell, injury, performance drop, anything, and Christian Haynes isn't the answer there, then Olu is your safety net. On a Super Bowl roster, you need that safety net. Championship teams aren't built just with stars. They're built with the guys who hold everything together when things go sideways. So yeah, 3 different players, 3 very different situations, but they all tell the same story about where this franchise is right now. This is what it looks like when you build a winner. Everybody has to fight for their spot. No free passes, no guaranteed anything. And honestly, I respect it. But okay, speaking of roster moves and guys fighting for their spots, Seattle didn't stop there this week. Because while everyone was locked in on the schedule release, the front office quietly made another move that I think is way more interesting than people are giving it credit. 2 new faces just joined this roster, and the reason why they were brought in, that tells you something really specific about what this coaching staff is prioritizing heading into 2026. Stay with me, because we're getting into that right now. Okay, 12s. Before we get into this next story, if you're still here, if you're locked in with me right now, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. We're grinding toward 4,000 subscribers on Seahawks Nation Update, and every single one of you matters. Drop a like too while you're at it. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more 12s just like you. All right, now let's talk about this. So while everybody in the NFL world was going absolutely crazy over the schedule release this week, and yeah, I get it, the schedule drop is always a moment, Seattle quietly made a roster move that I think deserves way more attention than it's getting. And honestly, when you dig into the details, it starts to tell a really interesting story about where this coaching staff's head is at heading into 2026. The Seahawks signed 2 undrafted rookie wide receivers, Rashad Rochelle and Trayvon Rudolph. And to make room, they waived Devine Deal, the undrafted free agent linebacker out of TCU who signed with Seattle not too long ago. Look, no disrespect to Deal, but this move is clearly about what Rochelle and Rudolph bring to the table, and what they bring is something very specific. Let's start with Rashad. This guy originally played at Rutgers, then transferred to Indiana State. And at Indiana State, he was really productive. 97 catches, 1,270 yards, 12 touchdowns. Those are real numbers. But here's the part that jumps out at me. He was also their primary kick returner. 43 kick returns over 2 seasons with a return touchdown. So this isn't just a receiver. This is a guy who can do work on special teams in a very specific way. And then Trayvon Rudolph, same kind of profile, honestly. 4 years at Northern Illinois, then transferred to Toledo for his 5th year. Career numbers of 192 catches, 2,482 yards, 12 touchdowns. Solid production. But again, kick returner. Not just a kick returner, actually. This dude led all of FBS in kick return yards back in 2020, led the entire country. That's not a small thing. That's a guy who has elite return ability on his resume. So now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, this is not a coincidence. You don't sign 2 guys in the same move who both have this specific skill set by accident. Mike McDonald, Jay Harbaugh, John Schneider, these guys are telling us something without saying it out loud. They want competition and depth at the kick returner position. They want options. And honestly, after watching the 2024 season, I completely understand why. The return game has been a real area of focus for this staff, and if they're out here in mid-May specifically adding guys with return experience, that tells me they're not satisfied with where that room stands right now. They want somebody to step up and make a statement in training camp and preseason. They're leaving the door open. Now look, are Rochelle and Rudolph going to make this 53-man roster? That is a long shot. We're talking about undrafted guys on a Super Bowl championship roster. The odds are stacked against them. But that's not really the point, is it? The point is that Seattle is using every single roster spot, every single opportunity to find an edge, to find that one guy who might surprise everybody. And in a league where special teams can genuinely flip field position and change games, that mindset matters. I'll be honest with you, as a fan, this kind of move gets me. Not because it's splashy, not because it's going to be on the front page of anything, but because it shows me that this front office is paying attention to the details. Championship organizations sweat the small stuff, and right now, the Seahawks are sweating the small stuff. That's a good sign. Now here's where I want to bring it all home for you, because when you take this story and you put it right next to everything we talked about with Holani, Milroe, and Oluwatimi, a really clear picture starts to form about where this team actually is right now. Think about it. On one side, you've got 3 veterans, guys who've been in the building, guys who've put in the work, fighting to hold on to roster spots on a team that just won it all. The roster got so good around them that their own jobs are now at risk. And on the other side, you've got 2 brand new undrafted rookies walking in the door, brought in specifically because they have a skill this staff wants to develop and compete at. What does that tell you? It tells you this is a franchise that is completely locked in. No sentiment, no free passes. Everybody earns it, everybody proves it. Veterans and rookies alike. This isn't a team that's going to sit back and enjoy the championship. This is a team that's already thinking about how to do it again. Is the overall picture positive? Yeah, honestly, yeah, it is. A Super Bowl roster coming back mostly intact, a front office still making smart, calculated moves in May, and a coaching staff that clearly has a vision for every single position on this team. That is a good place to be, 12s. But I'll leave you with this. The next few months are going to be really telling. Training camp is where the real story gets written. Who steps up, who fades out, who surprises everybody. Holani, Milroe, and Oluwatimi on one side, Rochelle and Rudolph on the other. Everybody's got something to prove. And honestly, as a fan, that's exactly the kind of Seahawks football I want to watch. This team is hungry, and I am here for it. Alright 12s, that's going to do it for today's video. If you made it all the way to the end, you already know what to do. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and help us push past 4,000 on Seahawks Nation Update. We are building something real here, and I am grateful for every single one of you. I'll catch you in the next one. Go Hawks.